Hello, colleagues. Thank you for joining our session. I think it's going to be very interesting because it touches upon a very relevant topic. Is there a future for the gas chem projects in Russia and CIS? New and existing projects, and what are the prospects? We'll be starting with Dmitry Akishin, head of Gas and Chemicals Division of Vygon Consulting, with a provocative topic, Russian methane chemicals, everyone for himself. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you, colleagues. Good afternoon. Just a moment. Today I'm going to report the outcomes of our most recent study. It was published just yesterday, so I'm not sure that you even saw it. It's a second part of our major gas chem story, where last year we went into methanol very deeply, and now we are starting with the second branch of methane chemistry, namely ammonia. I'll be covering key points, key outcomes, and the prospects for ammonia in Russia. I'll be speaking about prospective promising projects in the global context. Ammonia as an industry is one of the largest sectors in methane chemistry. Evidently, most ammonia goes as input into fertilizer, and agriculture is one of the main drivers here. One way or another, over 80% of ammonia is then converted into fertilizers to be used by agriculture. The remaining share is used by the industry. This could be explosives, this could be resins, for example, for timber processing, and so on and so forth. Very important factor here, especially given the events of this year, is that ammonia as an industry is very resilient towards global economic shocks. There were a lot of instances where the global economy was on a major downturn, but ammonia is as stable as ever. It either grew or remained flat. Primarily, this is explained by the circumstance where you might have a crisis, however horrible, there are things that continue operation, and fertilizers are going to stay. As a basic product, ammonia is virtually not marketed directly under 10%, and then the rest is intermediates to be transformed into urea, ammonium sulfide, silica, and so forth. However, it can be used for explosives, and as such, it's classed specially, so its trade is limited. But other products, downstream products from ammonia, are widely traded globally. As was mentioned, ammonia is mostly consumed in agriculture. As an industry, agriculture is primarily governed and driven by increasing population of our planet. So this industry has been growing slower than the global GDP, has been slowing down actually and stayed within 1%. Now on to consumption of fertilizers. A major factor here is state support. Most countries that are agricultural producers have, in one form or the other, some kind of subsidy. In Russia, for example, it's more than 10%. I mean 10% of income by agricultural producers, which is accounted for by government subsidies. In Japan or in South Korea, for example, these can be as high as 50%. Going forward, this industry is going to continue to grow within this range of 1.5%. Rather modest, but sustainable. Let's focus on Russia now. What are the prospects for ammonia here? It mostly operates with exports. Russia is the largest exporter of most fertilizers globally. One of the largest exporters of raw ammonia as well. On top of that, more than 65% of ammonia downstream products are exported as well. As for petrochemical exports, there are different pathways and infrastructures for bulk cargoes. We have rail, we have sea shipments, which can be used for long haul. This would be the Americas that are accessible for our fertilizer producers. As for ammonia, there is no transshipment capabilities in Russia at present. Raw ammonia is exported via European ports. Nonetheless, a potential construction of ammonia transshipment port in Russia could be very lucrative. Even at shipment rates at $45, which is below the market, experts can be comparable between the two routes, one going through Europe and one going directly out of Russia. Russian producers of ammonia and fertilizers gain their competitive edge through low gas prices, as you will all know. However, declining gas prices last year and then this year unprecedented continuous fall eaten out of this subsidy, let's call that. And price advantage yielded a competitive edge on price for Russia, totaling $165 billion. Last year, it went down five-fold already, and it was 35 billion rubles. In 2020, there were periods already where Russian gas was more expensive than the European, so this pricing advantage was nullified completely. Even as this advantage is gone, there is another major factor: prohibitive border taxes or tariffs. Gas prices are regulated in Russia, unlike Europe, US, or Trinidad and Tobago. The prices are still low, but in Europe, asymmetric steps were taken and different tariffs were imposed on imports from different countries and sometimes as granular as individual producers. In 2019, our urea was quite competitive when I'm speaking about the European market. But then, for ammonia liter, we fell behind European producers. The same goes for ammonia-urea mix. And again, the tariffs are not universal or flat. Then there are differences in transportation conditions if you compare Russia and the US. Even with that, we could lose here by virtue of the tariff alone. Here is an overview, and all new projects are focused on production of urea as one of the more promising fertilizers where the market is growing. New capacities are mostly located in the European part of Russia. One exception is Nakhotinsky plant, bottom right, which is located in the Russian Far East. A point to make here is that there is a trend where existing ammonia is redirected from raw exports to production of mineral fertilizers, urea once again. And our study has shown that existing capacities are competitive given the prices as they are today. So the feasibility is there. But when we come to new projects, it gets much more complicated. Entering the market with a new project during such low prices and such negative factors as gas prices, there are major economic risks. If you expand, though, an existing ammonia production with a new unit, this could be the way to go. Here is the supply curve for urea globally. We took Brazil as a reference because it is one of the major consumers of our fertilizers. And we see that existing capacities, dark blue, are to the left, placing Russia in a strong competitive position. As for new projects, where you already have ammonia capacities, orange, fall somewhere in the middle. And then, if you have greenfield projects where you utilize gas, blue column, those fall to the right and additional levers are needed to make these projects feasible. You might have your own gas source as one of the possibilities. If a gas producer decides to include these projects into their portfolio. Another negative factor is that leverage is expensive. And price regulations come into play really strongly as a factor. Sometimes finance is not accessible because international banks are wary of going to Russia because of the gas price fluctuations from, let's say, 3,000 to 10,000 overnight. If such practices are replicated for this industry as was done with regulation of methanol, this could have a very positive impact on the projects for urea. That's it for me. Thank you, and let's take questions at the end of the session.